Star Trek Bridge Crew is the world's first virtual reality Star Trek game. You get to be on the bridge of a Federation starship with your friends. So there's 4 stations to play: Captain, Helm, Engineering, Tactical. You can play any one of them. You can be there together, all 4 of you. You will see your avatars networked. Uses the Oculus Rift or the HTC Vive or the PlayStation VR headset. Also uses the hand tracking controllers. So what you see is when you turn around and you look at somebody, you'll see them gesticulating. You can hear them talk. You'll see where their heads are looking. And it really creates this this sense of shared presence of being on the bridge with other people, being a Federation officer, and actually being in the Federation. And you basically get to go play your own Star Trek missions, your own episodes, and feel like you're really in Star Trek for the first time.
Cool. Now, how different are the roles? Like, is the captain's role completely different from like the guy on the helm?
They're pretty different, actually. They all have, very different responsibilities. At the same time, we've designed them to rely upon each other because that's very much how it works in the shows, in the films. So the captain is directing the crew and getting certain specific information to share with the crew and really making decisions about how the crew should handle any given situation. The helms person is flying the ship, taking the ship to warp, using in-pulse travel, thrusters, keeping the ship aligned to the enemy during combat, things like that. While tactical is like phasers, shields, torpedoes, scanning, so all very unique compared to the other stations. And engineering, of course, is all about repairs and routing power, even the transporter controls, those kinds of things. So everybody has a unique job, but they all rely upon one another.
How much do they rely upon each other? How important is teamwork in this game?
Critical. We actually want it to be that way. Bridge Crew is really designed to be a social VR experience. You can play by yourself with crew bots, as we call them, NPCs at the stations. But if you play with friends, which is probably the best way to play, because you get that crew experience. So we've designed the stations to, for example, taking the ship to warp, the engineer has to charge the warp coils, the helmsman has to line up the warp trajectory and punch the throttle, and there's steps involved that both stations need to do. For combat, it's the same way. Helm and Tactical have to coordinate, and then the whole crew is relying on the captain for certain information. So we want it to be a social experience as well as a Star Trek experience, but really social is in the DNA of the Star Trek brand already, right? I mean, the crews rely upon each other and have to work together to survive, so we wanted to emulate that in the game as well.
Why did you folks choose VR to create this game? Why couldn't this have just been a simple, normal game?
Yeah, this game really, practically I guess it could exist without VR, but it really wouldn't be the same at all. VR, you get to look around and be like, wow, the bridge is surrounding me, I'm on it. You also get to see the other players and their movements. And when you see an avatar moving with the actual real movements of the person, head and hands, your brain just knows, that's another human being as opposed to a computer-generated or animated avatar. So these things, make the game very unique, and it really adds to that sense of presence of being there yourself, being a Federation officer yourself, using hand tracking to tap the buttons on the panels, which is something you couldn't do without VR, something you see in the films and the shows and be like, well, that's how Star Trek, Federation officers do things, and that's how you should do them too, and can do them. So yeah, that sense of being on the bridge, that sense of being on the bridge together is really only possible with VR.
Awesome. Now, we are celebrating Star Trek's 50th anniversary. What do games like your game do to help people have Star Trek in their lives?
Yeah, so that's a great question. 50 years now, it's an amazing accomplishment. People have grown up watching Star Trek, the shows and the films as kids, and I think there's a strong aspiration to have always wanted to know what it's like to do that and to be on those ships and to, be part of that world. And VR, more than any other technology in gaming in the past, can bring fans into that world for the first time. So we really are excited about allowing fans to step into the brand, the world, the experience of Star Trek. And it's a great timing. On the 50th anniversary celebration, there's going to be so much going on. And for us to be able to contribute a really immersive Star Trek experience is very exciting.